What in the actual world is this red cross that we've got here next to Harry Grant? What a mess, and what a crazy TLT this one has served to be, round 18. You think that's to be the one of the easier ones, and we have some big news, and that is Harry Grant is out, and Kalen Ponga is in. So he was hoping himself there to, privately they were saying that he was going to be back in round 18, and a lot, I think, thought round 19 after last week's news, and obviously with Fletcher Sharp being really, really important, and Harry Grant being important, this is a big, big TLT. So, firstly, my thoughts on Grant in the last sort of 10 minutes, trying to mull it over and work it out. He's a sell, and the reasons are, he hasn't played very well this year, right? So, is he carrying an injury? There's potential, right? Why is he rested this game? One, that is that. Number two, Bronson Garlick played really well last week, and there's a chance that they do split time going forward, so that would also make him a sell if that's the case, given, you know, if Grant is out, they do need to get some minutes into Garlick this year at 9. So there's a reason, you know, that's part of the reason as well why he could be resting, and obviously he has something right now for him to be rested. I don't see it as any other way, that he's not carrying something right now. It could be something that he's had, you know, throughout parts of the season, like he hasn't been himself, and that's for sure. So there's a couple of little theories on that front there, but either way, he's out this week. He's out last week. No, it doesn't matter now, but out this week, out 19, most likely to be out in round 20, you'd imagine, if this is the way they're going with restings for him. And in that case, those 3 weeks and him just not playing too well, it's a sell. If you've got any trades left, obviously JMK first. If you have one trade left, JMK out first, given it's likely to be a Liz Frank and out for a longer period of time. It's not confirmed yet. Their surgery. The specialist appointment is tomorrow for him. And then we'll find out all that news on JMK. But their doctors at Dolphins have said that they think that's what the injury is, the Liz Frank. So not good on that front. But yeah, if you're at one trade, I think if you're at one trade, you probably hold Grant as well. Anything above that, 2 or more, Grant's a sell. I'll be selling him personally. I also don't have a hooker this week. So what a ridiculous turn of events. As I said, I was just speaking to my girlfriend about this hooker situation, right? And you can imagine what she said about that. But Grant, at the start of the year, he's lost 131k after not having him the year before. Then we picked up Joe Lussick. Then he turned to garbage. Picked up Brayley. Then he got benched in his first game that I owned him, I think. Yeah, he got spelled, played 48 minutes in his first game, and then got benched for resting him because he's had too many injuries over the years. Fair enough. And apparently he's on the outer, the club, so I think that might be the main reason. But then we've picked up JMK, and he's gone 40-odd injury, and thank goodness that's it. But now I had Brayley, who I sold last week, and now Crossland's actually got a head knock, and which means, you know, Brayley plays close to 80 this week. JMK gets injured, and then Grant's out. So I had 3 hookers last week. I now have 2, but they're both not playing. So I need to trade one of them for a hooker this week, which is wild. So JMK and Grant are going to go this week. It probably makes my trades easier. I have 4 left, thank goodness, but we'll work that out over the next few days. I've got a general idea. I think I'll probably end up going with it if things all end up equal. But whoever I trade, you know, whichever hooker I trade in, I'm sorry. I'm so very sorry for everyone. They are going to start playing poorly. But she said, you know what that means, JB? I said, what's that, darling? She said, you should be loyal to your girl, and you should not be mucking around with hookers. I said, you're right. So hopefully, if I trade in Cook, let's say, he plays every game from here until round 27. But what's really going to happen, right, is that Souths are going to start playing poorly. They're going to be out of the 8, and then Mamazelis is going to get bigger minutes, and Cook is going to be cooked. That's likely what's going to happen. If they continue to play really well and they're in the hunt for the finals, Cook is going to be a really, really helpful guy to get them into the finals and to win games in the final series as well. So that's something to note. But anyway, that's enough on the hooker situation. Let's go from bottom to top, because the most important information here is that Kalen Ponga is back this week. He's been named to play. They have Fletcher Sharp on the interchange bench, so I'm not sure if that helps you at all. Like, obviously gets you a 17th player in the park or something like that, or you can loop him if it gets to this final game and Ponga's actually not well enough to play, then that could also be a factor as well. That helps you with Fletcher Sharp. But if you buy him last week, that was the reason I didn't, was I was worried that I didn't think it would be this week, so it's an even quicker turnaround. But I thought round 19, Ponga was going to be back. With all the whispers are going on that he was a chance of 18. I was like, well, surely 19 then, which is, it's come out this way as well. So that means that things get a little bit interesting, because some people might go early on Ponga this week, or he's definitely an interesting purchase for round 19. They have one bye left in round 21, so he plays the rest of the bye period for a guy that's an absolute gun and is obviously very, very expensive, right? Kalen Ponga. I'm just having a look at Nico Hines' price again. But Kalen Ponga price is $757. It's very expensive, and obviously has the 71 break even, given he had that 21 in the 52 minutes. But we did see there in round 3, 4, 5, and 6, his lowest score was 52. He went 72, 67, and 69 across those games. Obviously carrying that injury in that round 6 game before going off in the next round there in round 7. So with Ponga, slightly higher break even. You don't need to jump on this week, but he does play Canberra this week, so that could be pretty fun as well. Then into Manly Broncos, so round 19-20 before their bye, and then into Penrith. So I can see the merit in waiting and probably until the Tigers game, because then it goes Tigers, Sharks, Rabbitohs, Titans, Dolphins. It's a pretty nice run to finish if you wanted to get to Kalen Ponga, right? That could be your potential option in that one there for sure. So Fletcher Sharp on the bench, obviously keeping hold of him. Price keeps his spot in the side. Gagai, a decent chance of playing Origin now that we've got Xavier Coates out as well. So keep that in mind, guys. Bradman Best and Greg Marzhew, very interesting purchases this week. I will go into a deep dive on Greg Marzhew tomorrow. I think that, he's going to be a very, very interesting player this week. Very cheap at that as well. Price is also cheap, and he's kept his spot, which, you would have thought after a win last week. Daniel Saifiti in the starting side. Again, there you got Frizzell and also Kaipius Paul in the starting edge role as well, which means Dylan Lucas returns via the bench, which for owners of him is not a nice side. But obviously, there's a chance that he could move into that starting side. But when will you know? Will it be too late to make that decision for him being in the starting side or not? So if you got Kaipius Paul, obviously with the toe injury, he didn't perform too well last week, and hopefully this week he can perform a little bit better and hopefully still get big minutes in this side. So Knights are going to be a fun team to have a look at this week, that's for sure. Raiders. All right, KO Weeks is officially named at 1 with Geordie Rapana on the wing there. Matt Timoko has actually been named, so I actually expect him to be out of this side with Seb Chris returning. He's in 18th man at the moment, so I won't switch to too many things around with that, but Hopewadi in the centers as well. Strange will partner Adam Cook. Strange, no pun intended, to see Ethan on the right-hand side and obviously Cook come in on the left. Joe Tarpany, as I said, the only kind of guy you want to look at potentially purchasing in that side right now. Roosters and Dragons. So the Roosters stay very, very similar. Jennings comes in for Joey Manu. He's got that injury. He's going to be out for 4 weeks, you'd imagine, maybe 5, somewhere there. Probably 4, the way he comes back from injuries. But Teddy still, could you buy him this week? I definitely think you could. You could just wait for round 20 as well, given he's out, and you'll have some more trades by then. Sammy Walker holding or selling. I think with the limited trades you've got, he's an easier hold than a sell. But either way on that one. Connor Watson in 13 again for middle/edge bench. Surely he doesn't get the full 80, but stranger things have happened. They're not naming a backup 9, so you imagine Watson deputizes in there for Brandon Smith a little bit, and Smithy gets sort of 50 odd minutes would be my guess in that one. So Dragons, as I said in the video today, they get a 3-game impact. Very, very tough draw to come. Outside backs I'd probably avoid there, but Lomax is back playing. You've still got all the forwards in there, so plenty of big dogs and minutes to be split around. Obviously, they all did get a little bit of an extra minute stint with Fainai getting injured, so he's out in this one as well. Matty is, and Jack Bird's still in the reserves, so not getting a chance. Zach Lomax just comes straight back in for that one there. Alrighty, going to Cows and the Eagles. So on the Cows side, all of the Origin guys are back, which is awesome news. They obviously all got named last week, so you don't see them as the ins, the outs and ins list there, with all of them returning in this one, and probably means you're going to lose, right? That's the way that things are working out. With the Warriors, with the Cowboys here, they seem to be playing better and getting wins without their Origin guys or or post-origin kind of weeks there for sure. But the Eagles one is where things get very, very interesting. So Tolu Kola back at the fullback slot. So if anyone ended up holding on to Tolu, you end up win the lottery on that one. You obviously got very unlucky when Lehigh Hopewadi got his opportunity to come play in the fullback slot. And now Tommy Turbo is back. Garrick is back. Talau keeps his spot. Jason Sale keeps his spot. Lehigh Hopewadi moves to the bench. And Tolu keeps his spot. In the side, obviously, but at fullback, which is great news. I think he's going to do really well in that position, just like he was before he got moved back to the centres. So it's absolutely wild, the difference between him at centre and him at fullback, that's for sure. So would you look to buy him? The question mark with this one is, yes, he would be a great purchase at fullback, given his price, right? But when you've got Tommy in the side, so 414 is just ridiculous. Price of 30 in this one here. And we saw that one game he played at fullback was a 45. And I'd expect something like that going forward into this game as well. And could even be better against Cows, Newcastle, and Titans, obviously having their last bite in round 22. So it could work out really well, but is the Tommy at centre just a 1 to 2 week play, right? And then they'll get him back to fullback because that's his best position. And Tolu can play in the centres. And it's more of a fact of he's coming back from a soft tissue injury, and it would be best for him to get a little bit less, a few less Ks in the legs in at centre and bring him back that way before moving him back to fullback. That's the big question mark you've got to ask, and I don't know if we can answer that right here on this video, but it's definitely something to ponder. Everyone has been asking about middle forwards from the Manly boys as well. So Josh Alea, he does return. Sipley keeps his starting spot. And I think out of all of them, with Brown on the bench now, Ethan Bullymore on the bench, obviously there with Carl Lawton. Lawton and Jake Simpkin will switch between spots. And we'll get to Simpkin in a sec. I'll just pop him in now. But what you do need to look at, obviously, is that those guys have returned. And next week, it's going to be a little bit different. They also don't have Corey Waddell in the side this week. He is out. And what was the reason for Corey Waddell being out? Is it telling us? It is not telling us. Let me know in the comments what his reasoning was for being out. I can't remember exactly. Did he get injured or suspended? Good question. But yeah, they've got LA returning. Jake Trebojevic is there. Hamole's there. So a few things happening. But simply, I still think out of this, if he's going to start and actually start, I think he's the biggest chance of doing well for sides, obviously, there. And Simpkin, if he's partnering Lawton and we don't see, Lachlan Croker for the rest of the year, or at least the next month or so, then Simpkin could be an interesting one for you. Obviously, in the last 2 games, he's gone 57 minutes and 80 minutes, but he scored 38 in both of them. So if he's priced at 22, and if he can get a month or so of footy hitting 38s, then he'll continue to go up in price, considering he obviously got down to 355 with the -2, hit that 38, he still lost cash, and then lost cash again. Lost cash from the first 38, 16k, and then he's gone up 5 actually since that second 38. So he's on the good side of it now, and has the ability to move up into the 30s priced at and make a bit of cash and kind of do okay for you. But obviously lower minutes means sometimes he won't be able to do that well. He got 48 tackles in that 57 minutes against the Bunnies. So it was a pretty crazy middles stat game when you saw Cook go nuts, you saw Keon go nuts. Plenty happening in there for sure. So that's Simpkin. We'll have a look at him a little bit further tomorrow when I speak there with Maddie. So yeah, interesting situation, the middles and all the players in the Manly side. For the Tigers and the Storm, let's go to Tigers first. Buller, not great last week. If you still got him, hold on, obviously, but not exciting. Galvin holding on. Bateman comes into the edge, and Ruben Porter finds himself in 18th man after a pretty decent effort from him last week. But yeah, Bateman in the 11 jersey. Matamua still keeps his spot in 13. Heath Mason on the bench in 14 after not playing last week. And Samuel Fainu keeps his spot as well. So that's good. Stefano potentially could still buy. Api Coruscant, same deal, but obviously has the up and down worries that we see from him. 26 or whatever into an 88 into a 26. Just with a sim bin. It's a wild time, that's for sure, for Appy. On the Storm side, yeah, as we said at the start, we see Bronson Garlick get the 9 jersey still, and no Harry Grant, so he won't play until round 20 or 21. You'd imagine there at minimum. He will be in the Origin setup if he's all good. Otherwise, he'll be injured and he's not playing anyway. So that's that. So Pap's back, which is big. Jack Howarth keeps his spot. Apparently, it was an injury. he did come back on and play, but they're saying it was a groin injury, he'd probably be out, and he still might be. But for now, he's been named, and this is great news for anyone looking at him. And as I mentioned with Nick Meaney, he's not even close to being back as well, not in the reserves either. So he was definitely a correct sell for anyone who did so. You'll fight longer, and you've got Joe Chan on the interchange bench, so that's something as well. And yeah, Blore and Katoa still kicking, Jerome Hughes and Wishart still there as well. No close news return on Munster, but hopefully we find out in the next week or so we can make decisions on Wishart in round 19, for example. But I do imagine he'll end up in that 14 jersey over Fa'alongo or over Joe Chan, but I imagine it'll be Sua that he'll take over in that jersey, which, obviously doesn't really help us, and we'd probably have to sell anyway if he's going to be on the bench. But as we said, we know what could happen with Munster on a week-to-week basis with that groin injury he does have. For the Waz, not really anyone of note. It's really only Barnett that you might be wanting to look at. He's in the 10 jersey to start with, Capewell named on the edge, and yeah, he's been the best scorer by far. Guys are going to get really cheap. Obviously, Tohu, if he keeps playing lower minutes and then happens to get bigger minutes, if Wade Egan starts playing better, Adam Fanua-Blake's getting cheaper and definitely is worth a look in round 20 for sure. But for now, it's a no from the Warriors guys. Connor Tracy returns for the Dogs, which is great news for them. And Kiraz goes back to the wing, so I'm much happier with that. And I think he can score well. Hopefully, he's on the right-hand side next to Stephen Crichton with the way that Stephen's been playing. That would be awesome. Kick-out is with Salmon. And the biggest news here is that Jacob Preston was named on the reserves last week and then has not even been named at all. So that is super worrying. It obviously means he misses this week at minimum and 19 at minimum. And then what happens from there? So yeah, he could be a guy to look at moving on as well. Mr. Preston, and I'll just keep looking at guys that are out at the moment. How many people own them? 28 people in the top 1,000 own Jacob at the moment. And yeah, hopefully you did sell last week. If you didn't, then probably this week. If you have any trades, that's for sure. But Burton, obviously someone you need to look at, but they have a bye next week, so I wouldn't go out of my way to get any of these guys before a bye at this point. Who I did forget, actually. Sorry. Scratch that. Did I go through the Raiders yet? I did. I missed. We just went straight past Starling, so sorry about that. He's someone that I'm definitely interested in, but he doesn't play next week, so that's my problem. At his price, though, if you don't need a hooker for next week, and if you've got a few extra trades available, Starling has won that starting spot, and we know that when he gets good minutes starting, he is an incredible Starling. He's an incredible point scorer, that's for sure. So he's someone that I would love to have in my side. Just with Grant out, I think it's a little bit tough for me to go out and purchase him when I'm selling both of them, I think, and I'm going to need a gun and make it easier. They play every game, and it's likely to be Damien Cook, Jacob Little, these types of players there. Little misses 20, but yeah, he would be a decent one as well. So sorry about that. I forgot to mention that young fellow. So yeah, that's it. Dogs and Warriors, and then we move on to Broncos Panthers. All right, really, really big, fun game this one's going to be. Jensen and Haas up top, Pitakura and Hetherington on the edge with Ricky out for one more week. Carrigan back at 13. Xavier on the bench. Karapani keeps his spot there as well as the utility, along with Smoothie, obviously, 9 cover. And then Marty Tapau, he keeps his spot on the bench as well. So Katoni Stagg's actually been... Well, they said he was going to miss this game, but he's just been put in the reserve, so I'm not sure what's going on there exactly. But Baker and Jack Goz, the best cash out in the world, are out this week, obviously, with their injuries. And yeah, I'll be playing Willison. I still think he gets probably close to 40 minutes off the bench. Jensen probably gets a bit more of a rest after his mammoth effort. Hetherington may get a rest at some point. I'm not sure who would go there, if it's Carrigan that moves to the edge at some point. But it's going to be a fun game against the Panthers, that's for sure. And Broncos, it's really hard to push any of them as a buy at the moment because the Origin guys are the only really guys you'd want. And then we'll get Reynolds back eventually. Still no sign of a change with like Jock Madden or Rogers or anything like that. And Saylor goes back to 18. For the Panthers there, everyone's back, right? Except for Cleary, obviously there. Dane Laurie, Lindsay Smith, Henry, and Eisenhuth on the interchange is a good little section there. Schneider is in the reserve, so Jack Cole keeps his spot like he did beforehand with wild that Schneider got the spot first and then Cole ends up with it after, but Jerome's playing a great 7 role when he gets his opportunity. The back line's good. Still don't look at Isaac Tungo, he's just not looking himself. If you want to grab Yo this week, I understand, but just be aware that he might either rest completely or go lower minutes in round 20 as well. So keep that in mind. And then you're looking at the Sharkies and the Titans on the second last game of the week, or second game of the week. I'm going back to front here. What about Daniel Atkinson in the wing? That's wild. Crazy how that one's ended up. So if you're still holding on to him, you get him up against the... So he's going to be on the right-hand side there, up against Lofi Khan Pereira, which I'm not sure if it's a good or bad thing. That's for sure. But defensively on that side, it's him and Kelly, and it's going to be AJ Brimson. So... And Fafita though. So yeah, I wonder how that's going to go for Atkinson. But if you need a green dot and you're randomly still holding him, then that's worked out pretty well for sure. Random for sure. That's for definite. But yeah, Kale Arrow still in that spot. Trindle, Hines, all kicking along. Doing fine. Hines obviously getting a little bit more cheaper, and he's someone that I'll be looking to purchase. I think next week now. With the way that things have set up, I could potentially look at him, but it means I would definitely not be able to go Cook, and I'd have to go for like a Starling to be able to get up to Hines. So I do think I'm just going to have to cop this. I think he's going to score well this week. I'm just going to have to cop it and go from next week on that one with him. In terms of, Blake Brayley's an option as well. He misses round 20. I do think I'd rather go for Little. Blake's had a strange little month or so there of like 20s and 30s, which was gross. McInnes still really solid to pick up. Wilton staying on the bench as well, so we'll see how that one plays longer term. Hamlin Uele is in the reserves, which is good. For the Titans side, Jaden Campbell is out, obviously. We weren't expecting him to play. Randall is still in the 13 with Cleese Haas out. I believe it's just one more week, but check that one. I fact check on that one. I have not looked into that completely. Keeney keeps his spot obviously at 1, which is great for owners, and we do see Brimson going to 6 this week. So now the question here is, if the Titans beat the Sharks, are we going to see this team stay exactly as it is, and will we see Stimson come out of the team and Campbell put into the interchange bench and him play minutes off the bench? That's the big question mark of the week. That's for sure around the Titans. And if Fafita plays great and Sewer doesn't, and Piakura doesn't get selected or something like that, and Fafita ends up making it back into the Origin squad. That's the big question marks, 2 big question marks from the Titans this week. And can they get that win? So both for more, obviously one pretty expensive now. And Chris Randall, I'd say yes to buying him, but then you've got to worry about Cleese Haas coming back and taking his spot and moving Randall back to the bench with Aaron Clark starting here. So he should be able to get some okay minutes for sure. That one's played Coffs Harbour for anyone is a local. That'll be a fun one for sure. And then the Thursday night game is the Eels up against the Bunnies. And we do see Jake Tago there, or Tungo. I think it's Tago. I'm not sure on that one. Jake, very, very Aussie name. So we'll roll with that for now. But Gutho, Penasini, Russell, Blaze Talangi still on the wing there. A few people will be going to get rid of Dylan Brown. And if you have not many green dots, if you've got a bunch of red dots this week like myself, I currently have 5, given I have 4 Dolphins and Harry Grant, you may be wanting or needing to hold on to Dylan Brown this week. So keep that in mind. The big news of the week here is, obviously, Hands and Matt Arthur stays the same, but Ryan Madison's been moved to the edge and Sean Lane's been put in the middle. So he was actually playing really well off the bench in the middle there. So I actually think this can stick. The big question here is what happens with Matt Dury? Where does he come on? Does he take Madison's spot? Does Cartwright move to the middle? Does Madison move to the middle? Does Maddo get full 80? These are all questions I think that will get answered this week. And then I think we'll be able to make a decision on Cartwright, on Madison, with a clear picture of what that looks like. And that's something I might have to do next week. It's a little bit of a downgrade option. If I do make 2 trades this week and try to get Hines, my thinking here is that if we do happen to lose Fafita to Origin, I'll need a edge and I'll also need a half, right? And so in that to get 13 on the park. Don't have to do this, obviously, but if I want to get 13 on the park and do cracklingly well, then I could downgrade someone to Madison, save about 50k, and go Cotter to Hines next week. And that could work out perfectly. So it's something I'm potentially thinking of. And if I just watch Maddo this week and he gets like a 40 odd, he'll gain a little bit in price, but he won't go anything crazy above where he is right now, obviously, with him scoring 46 last week. It's nothing crazy. So that's that. It's probably the big story of the week there, Madison and Cartwright. Do you want to jump on Maddo? You could definitely do it, and it'll pay off this week. I think I'm going to wait one more week and decide then if things stay the same, because it's changing too much. He could get put back to the bench next week. We don't know. He might even play bench this game. I don't know. Rabbitohs. All right, Latrell, just if you are buying him this week, or if you do own him, expect him to miss round 20, right? you don't want to lose Latrell backing up from Origin, which is going to be an absolutely mammoth game, right? So just be aware of that. If you are buying him this week, you're buying him for the long term, but maybe expect around 20 he's out as well. Whiten, if you want to buy this week, still fairly cheap, but an okay buy at best. Keep holding Davi Mwale. I think he'll obviously get less minutes this week, but still be fine. Damien Cook, buy with caution, but he's scoring so well at the moment. He's playing great, so he could continue to do that. And hopefully, if they're getting wins, which I think they will in this one, if they play well enough. Eels just, not playing well enough as a team. Some good individual performances. Obviously, Mitch Moses was cracking. He had some good moments from Cartwright, but they just can't get a win. And Bunnies are playing really well, coming off a bye, so that helps them as well. Murray on the edge, so that's good for Keon Kolomatangi, in my opinion. I do expect him to play some good minutes there. Maybe mixing some time with Tallis, or he moves back and Cheekham will come onto that. He'll move back to 13. Cheekham will come onto the edge, which he played the recent bunch of weeks. Arrows could be his last game as well, they were saying. Unless he gets an Origin call-up, he was saying there as well. So Keon, solid. Murray, I think just after Origin, he could obviously play less minutes or miss round 20 as well, so keep that in mind for them there. I think that's it. That's going to be it for the team list for round 18. I don't think you should be buying Tommy first game back off an injury at center as well, so just keep that in mind. And I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for being here, guys. It was a very eventful TLT, and can't wait to see how things pan out over the rest of the week. See you, team.